Hi, how are you? Good. If you're not good, why not? Talk to someone about it. Put it in the comment and then I'll read it and I'll talk to you. I promise, because not many people will comment, so the chances are fairly likely that I'll see it. I'm not here to just introduce myself because I haven't done that anyways. I'm Nick. I made a video last week and I really liked doing it. I thought it was quite fun. So I'm going to do it again. I know, revolutionary concept. I watched Isaac Butterfield's video just now. To sum it up pretty briefly, he was reacting to something that happened in the media just recently in Australia where a particular high school, a co-ed high school, attempted to make a statement against the sexual assaults and violence against women. Their way of making that statement was to request that all men and boys within that school stand up and apologize to the females and girls within that school. The statement probably was lost on a lot of the boys purely because from 12 to 17, probably a 15-year-old would understand what sexual assault is and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be taught that. Absolutely. Please hear me out. But a 12-year-old, especially one who hasn't or has barely started going through puberty, doesn't really understand why they're apologizing. He ended the video by asking probably a somewhat rhetorical question, but he did ask for a response. Say, "Hi, here I am." I don't know what the fuck that was. Hey, he asked for a response, and so I have an idea, at least a start. Not the final solution, but I think it's a hell of a lot of a better start than asking people to apologize. So what we're asking for and what we're trying to get towards is some form of action. Are we not? We're trying to make sure that this doesn't happen, or at least reduce the odds of this happening. I think there is a pretty good way to start this off. From the ages of 5, even before then, to 10, you've got constable care. Constable care is essentially a pretend advisory character from the police force, and then there's also Freddy the fire engine as well, which kind of has a similar vein. Slightly into the future, Nick here. There is no Freddy the fire engine anymore. Don't know where he went, but now kids don't have anything. That sucks. Bring it back. But basically, you get taught how to dial for emergency services. In Australia, it's 000. What happens in my experience, and obviously it's been a while since I've been to school, but from my experience, what happened was that education kind of stopped, or at least slowed down dramatically once you get to 10 years old, and then starts to pick up again once you get to high school, but it's in a different vein. It's basically saying, oh, if your friend has drunk too much alcohol, dial 000, here's what you have to say. Where I think we're missing a trick here is the education doesn't develop. It doesn't change. How much would it cost for the government to make it a mandate that a simple first aid course is provided to all students? They do phys ed, so why can't they do a first aid course? You mandate that every PE teacher in the country gets a first aid instructor's license on a particular level. It's probably a good start, wouldn't you say? Each PE teacher would need to pay for a license, and then every university would get the money from that, or every college or every TAFE college or something like that would get the money from that. And then every school would be able to teach their students how to administer first aid, or at least know the signs. With that said, when you do a first aid course in Australia, at least with St. John, you are advised about the St. John First Responder app. The First Responder app is exactly what it sounds like. So it's an app for first responders. So when you when you get a first aid course certificate, you can then apply to become a first responder. What that means is that you can become the middleman between an emergency happening and the ambulance arriving. You can be the person that administers CPR, or at least emergency services to an extent, to the limits of your course certificate, to that person to prevent further injury or further consequence of their issue. Okay, so if they're having a heart attack or something like that, you can then seek out a defib. There is also a defib locator on this app as well. You can seek out a defib, you can administer CPR. There are instructions on how to utilize all of that kind of thing in here. The other big important thing about this app is that it has a dial 000 on there for everyone, not just first responders. What that does is that if you dial for 000 on this app, it then locates your GPS location via your phone, and then whether you hang up, lose your phone, drop your phone, get your phone destroyed, run out of battery, the GPS location is saved, at the point of the emergency services, so at the operator level. They will then respond to your emergency regardless of whether you stay on the line or not. I only knew about that because I did the course. Why is that not mandated? Why is that not publicized? Why is this not part of every single university and TAFE degree that you ever do? Why is that not part of every single job induction that you ever do? Because we're all saying that schools need to educate their students better. What happens when you're an adult? Why isn't it mandated that we have to educate every single adult, at least to this level? My point being that if we can get people to utilize an app where we can report and keep up to scratch with reporting issues in an effective manner, that probably helps us a little bit. And I mean it by this point. The request and the demand from a lot of people to the public is that if you see an issue, step in and stop the issue. I think that's slightly unrealistic, and not because of people's ill intentions or lack of good intention. It's because people are nervous. Most of the population in this world are afraid of public speaking, and you want them to now go beyond the realms of public speaking, where the ramifications could possibly extend to verbal criticism. You're now asking them to step into the public realm, into face consequences that can be physical and potentially very dangerous. I think it's unrealistic to assume that most people are going to do that. There will be some that will and that do, and they are to be commended for that. Absolutely. Take nothing away from those people. But there's a reason why people apply to be police officers, apply to be ambulance drivers, to apply to be in the fire department, firefighters, and every single other first responder discipline that there is under that kind of umbrella. So then why do we assume that everyone's going to become a first responder? We can get them at least a little bit of the way there by, from the ages of, let's say 10 years old, for example, and someone smarter than me can do the work on this. We're missing a trick because every single 10-year-old upwards has got one of these. No one's rocking around with a 6210 Nokia, okay? They're all rocking around with a touchscreen phone. Check out my little doggy. You see my little doggy? That's my little doggy. They're all rocking around with one of these. They've all got apps. They all know how to use them. So why aren't we taking advantage of that? Why don't we make it so that the police and the emergency services don't have to rely on cameras that they install everywhere? Why don't you act as Big Brother? Why don't you learn how to document evidence, how to take photos effectively? What do the police need in order to press charges upon someone? Because likelihood is you're not going to step in and try to physically either apprehend or interfere with someone to stop something from happening. But you can report it. So why haven't we got to that point? It doesn't seem like it's that much of a stretch. We've got the technology, we've got the app. We've already got the app. St. John have got the app. So the police can get this app. If it then becomes an over-reporting issue, that's fairly simple too, because that's what the police are there for, to adjudicate whether something is a serious event or a non-serious event. And you can then learn what do the police actually need in order to create an effective case. Because most of the time when these things happen, it's because there isn't enough effective evidence put in place to be able to press charges against that filthy motherfucker who does whatever the fuck they're doing. And I don't need to mention what it is, because you know. So why haven't we got to that point? Why haven't we got to a stage where we can utilize these so that these are the weapons? They're the weapons against most people. Okay, we use them for filming natural disasters, for filming big fights. Why aren't we using these? Why aren't we teaching kids how to use these and make it compulsorily mandated? We can do it with masks. We can make people wear masks. So why can't we make people use these effectively? That's my idea. I reckon it's a good one. If you think so too, share this video with all your friends. Let's make it as loud as possible, because I reckon these are the answer, or at least part of the answer. They're not the full answer. Obviously, it's not going to stop everything. But if we can get to a point where if there's someone walking past and they're looking shady as fuck, and you know how to use this to take a photo of them, what's the harm? Do we become a paranoid society because of it? Maybe. But that's why you then start paying people to decipher information. We're always worried about job security and all this kind of stuff. Computers will not be able to decipher an emergency event because there is way too many variables in play. That's where we come in. That's where we come in with these. Stop relying on the cameras in the sky. Use these ones. And governments, make it so we can. Teach people how to use this stuff. Don't let it just be an excuse to teach them when they pay for it. It should be compulsory from school onwards. Make it part of the driving license test that you learn how to use this stuff. Because in an emergency situation, if you see someone that's crashed their car and you're on the side of the road and you don't know which road it is because most people are panicked as fuck when they see an accident, this comes in handy. I think that's probably the best way to stop any of this happening from the source, or at least provide consequence to people's actions. I know of a few situations where that could have probably helped someone. Maybe not help them in terms of stopping the issue completely, because most people wouldn't know how to stop it. I'm lucky and unlucky enough not to have been in a situation where I have seen this. I don't know what I would have done if I had have been in that situation. And I think having some education around how to capture evidence with this, or at least know how to call emergency services with this and report what is happening with this, with a photo, with a camera, with some audio. I think that's probably the best start that we can make. If you think so too, share this video, subscribe as well. I don't know what this channel will be. Maybe it'll be a little bit more of the serious stuff. Maybe we'll start to become a little bit more humorous. I hope we become a little bit more humorous, because I don't think that I can deal with being this serious all the time. If you want to look at the lighter side of life as well, follow me on Twitch, twitch.com/mompalomp. If you would like to see how stupid I can be, there are other videos on this channel that show how dumb I actually am. I hope that you never have to use any form of software like what I'm proposing, but in the case that you do need to, wouldn't it be nice if it were there?